Yay! I am live, if I'm not wrong. Yes, I am. Wow, that's great. So I'm so excited to be here. This is my first ever live, especially on my Facebook page. I never thought I would do something like this, but hey, there is a first time for everything. And what I want to talk about is about follow-up sequences. So every time you download a freebie, whether it's an ebook or a video training or a meditation, whatever, you probably notice that straight after getting the email delivering the content, the piece of content, you start to get 3, 4, 5, even a bit more sometimes emails, where you basically get an introduction of the person who produced that piece of content, and eventually they try to get you on a discovery call, or they try to sell you something else. That is a follow-up sequence, and that can, it can easily be automated, and it's one of those automations that you should really have in your business, because the purpose of the follow-up sequence is just to create this know, like, and trust factor. So the people who get your content may never meet you face to face, and email is the only mean you have to actually create a connection with that person. So it's important to craft the right follow-up sequence, keeping always in mind your final goal. So I don't want to faff around too much, and I just want to give you these 5 little steps to craft the perfect follow-up sequence. And the first step is that you really need to know your goal. What is your final goal? Do you want to sell your tripwire? Do you want to sell a package? Do you want to sell a product? Do you want to jump on a discovery call? You need to be crystal clear on your final goal, because all the copy you're going to prepare for the follow-up sequence has to be geared toward this final goal. So it's better to take a bit more time to craft, it's better to take a bit more time just to be really clear on what is the final goal, rather than just doing it for the purpose of having a follow-up sequence. Then step number 2, it's definitely to map out the whole lead journey. So what is the first step? How does the subscriber signs up to your for your freebie, for your piece of content? What happens? Do they go through a landing page? Do they directly come from Instagram? What are all the steps? And you need to, I think it's really useful to map out all the steps, because then you get to know really the journey that the subscriber takes to get from your profile to your final sales email. And I think it's useful because it helps you also see all the steps and see if something it isn't so smooth. So if something needs to be tweaked, if some steps are a bit clunky. So mapping out all the steps from the very beginning, so when the subscriber ends up on your website or your landing page, until the very last email you are going to send in your follow-up sequence. 5 emails that should always be in your follow-up sequence are definitely the About Me email, where you just introduce yourself and you tell a bit more about your experience, your background, what you like doing in your free time, or whatever it's relevant and whatever you want to share. Another one is the educational email, where you educate, where you train the subscribers around your topic of expertise. So this email has the purpose of positioning yourself as the expert in that specific area. Another email that it's a good idea to send, it's a Q&A. So you could answer the most asked question that you get. You could write an email and answer those questions. And this is also a good email that you can use to answer those common objections that may arise when you have, for example, discovery call and people want to work with you, but they have some common objections. This is an email you could use, the Q&A. Then we have the testimonial or case studies email. So obviously we want to show that using our product or, working with us is great, but not only because we know it's great, but because we have social proof of our clients sharing their own insights and results. And then the final email is obviously the sales email. So usually this is the last one, and it's the email where we actually sell our product, our service, or we try to onboard the reader and book a discovery call. There shouldn't be a lot of sales in the other emails. So when you write when you send the sales email, that's all about selling. But the other ones, so the about me, the educational email, the Q&A, shouldn't really mention or shouldn't be really pushy from the point of view of selling something. You obviously should mention your product, service, or a program you have, but without selling too hard, because that's for the sales email. Then number 3, and it's my favorite one, it's choosing the right tool. The right tool may not necessarily be free. And actually, if you have a tiny budget, or maybe you don't even have a budget at all for email marketing, which is totally fine, but please don't go with MailChimp only because it's free. MailerLite, it's free as well, and it works really well. In my opinion, it's much better MailerLite than using MailChimp, because MailChimp, it's just really confusing. And the automation flow isn't really smooth and not really user-friendly, in my opinion. Whereas if MailerLite, it's much closer to, say, ActiveCampaign, which is a much more advanced tool that at some point in your business life, you may want to use something more advanced. And having already some experience in using, for example, MailerLite, which gives you a different interface that it's much closer to more advanced tools, it will make your life easier. And it just, in my opinion, it's just easier to use MailerLite because you will get acquainted to a more advanced tool. It's always a good idea to really know your tool, which means taking a bit of time to actually go and check out the help section or the tutorials, because sometimes it may happen that there are some features, but they are kind of hidden. So for example, you can almost always customize your confirmation email, but for example, in ActiveCampaign isn't really clear where you can customize that. I mean, you can't really find it unless you know where to find it, and you need really to dig around and look for that. Whereas in, for example, MailerLite, it's just there. So when you prepare the automation and you prepare your form, your sign-up form, you have, like in MailChimp, you have all the steps and you can super easily customize the confirmation email. So this is my third tip, just to really know what you can do with your tool, which should always be the best tool you can afford. Tip number 4, or step number 4, use tags. Tags are labels that help you identify the interests and the behaviors of your subscribers. And adding tags to your list or to your subscribers makes it really easy for you to customize the content you are sending to your list. So, for example, you may tag your subscribers according to the freebie they download. So if you have 2, 3, 4, 5 different freebies, maybe you run a webinar, you want to know how your subscribers end up in your list. And you can know that by assigning a tag. So they come really, really handy. Once we decide to go and use tags, because we got the hang of it and we see that they're really useful, then the next step is segmentation. And this is my final, the final step, or one. It's a bit more advanced thing that we can do with our list. But basically, in the simplest of terms, it's dividing in smaller groups or categories your list. So we assign tags to the subscribers, and tags are only labels. If I want to send an email or a newsletter only to people with a specific label or tag, then I am segmenting. I'm doing a segmentation. So you can, for example, do a segmentation and send an email only to the people who didn't open your last 5 emails. Or you can send an email only to the people that are based in UK, because soon you're going to run a local event in the UK and you want to promote your event at the local level, sending emails only to people who are actually in the UK. So the segmentation allows you to provide with the suitable content the people in your list. And actually, segmentation is the topic I'm going to talk about next week. So if you want to learn a bit more about segmentation and understand how it actually works, because I know it's not really the easiest of the topics, stay tuned, because next Thursday at the same time I'm going to talk about this. Now, I want to keep this really short and sweet because I don't like to make things complicated. I wrote an article about it, so I'm going to pop the link to the article just in the comment section, so you can go and check it out. And if you have any question about the follow-up sequences, let me know. And also, I would really love to hear what makes you freak out about follow-up sequences. Is it setting up the automation? Is it having a lot of features? Is it the tags? Is it that you want to use at its best the follow-up sequence? Let me know what you struggle with related to email marketing automation, and I'm going to answer next week at the same time at 2 o'clock Eastern European time. And have a great well, I would say weekend, so since tomorrow it's Friday. But yeah, bye people, have a nice weekend and see you next time. Oh, Natalie, I can see you joined. Oh. Aha. Okay, I hope this video was able to, everything worked fine. But if not, I'm going to record it again.